Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my channel. Now I hate to go here and spread doom and gloom like a lot of other YouTubers, but the Wall Street Journal thing has caused me to lose more than 70% of my total ad revenue. If you guys would like to help me get through this treacherous time, please consider pressing the subscribe button and the notification button. Also, liking and sharing this video with a few of your friends will go a long way in terms of helping me out. Now, if you're more inclined to help me and you actually have the financial backing, please consider donating to me directly on PayPal or go to patreon.com and give a monthly donation for some nice perks. With that being said, I'm going to go into my usual disclaimer. Please guys, understand that none of the stories here are actually written by me, but rather by the lovely people at Let's Not Meet. Later in the week, I will have a top 3 creepypastas of the month, which I will try to do on a monthly basis. With that being said, sit back, relax, turn down the lights, and welcome to my dungeon. I'm your host, That Creepy Reading, and today, I'm signing off.
My Childhood Friend's Father by Rob666 Boss. Some backstory before I begin. These events started when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, 2002 to 2003-ish, and ended during the fall of 2015. I'm 21 years old now, living in Canada. When I was in elementary school, I was friends with a girl named Jessica. We had a group of 5 or 6 girls that we always played with. Jessica's parents were divorced, and I often went over to her dad's house at the school because they had a trampoline and a slide. Her dad was a totally normal dude. His name was Richard, and he held a job as a pilot, which was definitely a job that requires mental stability. Jessica came over to my house as well, and her dad would always come over to pick her up after the play date. And he was familiar with where I lived. In, I think, the 2nd or 3rd grade, Jessica moved away to live with her mom. I didn't understand fully what was going on as a child, and I still don't know what happened. But something had gone wrong with her father. We didn't hear much from Jessica, but around her birthday, the following year, Richard invited our group of girls over for a surprise birthday party. We arrived at the party and were waiting for Jessica so we could surprise her. But Jessica never showed up. We were just hanging out for Dad for a while. As a child, this didn't seem weird, but it does to me now. When our parents picked us up, we obviously told them what happened, and we didn't hang out with Jessica or Richard again. After that, some of the girls started receiving presents from Richard at their homes. I never received them, but my mother told me about it years later. The presents usually consisted of cheap jewelry and notes. I have no idea what the notes said, but I'm not sure that I want to. After this, Richard goes away. My mom later told me that he was in a mental institution. Years go by. I completely forget about the whole situation. Then in the winter of 2013, I was out of town for a cheer competition. I was scrolling through Facebook one night when all of a sudden a new group chat popped up with 5 girls from my elementary school. I had not kept in touch with any of them. This was really weird. The chat was about how they received messages from this guy Richard on Facebook. I checked the other folder of my Facebook messages, and sure enough, I had some weird messages too. I had a variety of messages that did not make a lot of sense, including some strange poems. Many of the messages were descriptions of dreams he had about me, though some of them were nonsense. Others were understandable enough to come across as sexually violent, threatening. I don't feel comfortable sharing some of these more explicit messages, but here are a couple of the shorter, less scary ones. Hey, little girl from not too long ago, pristine of pristineness, I want you, I want you, I want you. We're gonna have planets to go to someday, provided you don't melt them first. I'm so proud of you. Stay happy, and I haven't found a way to keep you off of my mind. I can't see the planets till I make you all mine. You're just so rough, and oh, that's just so fine, and if I'm there, my love's for you I share. It's so indefinite, for all of it is all about you. That's only I care. Oh my goodness. You're all my whipping cream containers. I clicked on Richard's Facebook profile, and his whole profile was dedicated to his 5 girls. He didn't have any friends added, so clearly nobody had seen it. Unfortunately, we don't have very good security settings on Facebook. He had saved dozens of photos of us, and then reposted them with nonsensical and inappropriate captions. The captions ranged from essays about his love to us, to one sentence caption that simply said, "She is so ugly." Here are some of the shorter captions on some of the photos. Emily, hopefully, and not too soon, I'm gonna find out your year 8511, and I'm going to show up. As a man knocks on your doorsteps and bites your bottom lip off, you can't say a word. Clara, because my initial euphoria turns into sunken depression when I realize that there's nothing I can do about you, nothing, anything, because you're inside of me and I can't get you out of my mind because I love you so much. Melissa, can I paint your picture? And I want to lift you around to see how heavy you are. As well go for a drive for Hollywood Drive, with the windows rolled down so we can get a crystal clear view. Fucking give it up, as if I'm going to pretend that I like it besides you're just yanking my strings, because every time, it's the same common demeanor, which I notice. How come you all pluck your eyebrows? But I do pretend I have favorite things, but in reality, I don't need them, because I'm a good liar, and I have a criminal mind like yours. We're all freshly 18 at this time. We don't know what to do, so our moms contacted the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They told us not to block Richard on Facebook, but do not reply as the messages could be used as evidence. He continued to send messages every single day, and we shared the screenshots of one another in this group chat, and then sent them off to the RCMP. He had several different Facebook accounts that were all variations on his name, along with one randomly named Esteban, which is very weird. One of the girls got in touch with Jessica to find out if she had contact of her father. She only saw him on supervised visits every once in a while. She was very embarrassed and apologized a lot. She was super sweet for a girl, and obviously none of us were upset in any way. Eventually, Richard was charged with 5 counts of criminal harassment. He pled guilty and went to jail for around 5 months. When he got out, there was still a no contact order in place, meaning that he could not contact any of us girls or come within a certain radius of our homes. He was not allowed to use the internet either. I'm not sure how all of this works, but this is what the constable handling the case told me. However, not surprisingly, he contacted us on Facebook again. He went back to jail for breaching his probation. It was the summer of 2015 and he got out again. I started receiving more messages. I immediately wrote on the group chat to see if any of the other girls had gotten anything, and they hadn't. But just me. I immediately contacted police. It seems they had forgotten to include my name on the no contact order. He knew not to contact the other girls, but thought it was safe for him to contact me. This time things got worse. I had just started working at a new job, and being the idiot that I am, I had my workplace on my public Facebook profile. One day I came into work and there was a package waiting for me. Obviously, I was confused because I would never order something to be delivered to my work. I opened it up with my managers and there was weed inside, along with a disc with encryption software on it. He mailed me weed to my work. I knew immediately that it was him and awkwardly explained the situation to my managers, and they thought it was so hilarious. The security in my office tower was alerted and given a photo of him. They begun walking me to my bus stop after my shifts. It was scary knowing that he knew where I worked. At this point, I hadn't seen Richard in years, but it was clear that he was mentally unstable. I had absolutely no idea what he was capable of or what his motives were. The RCMP did not seem to take this case very seriously. They moved very, very slowly, passing the case around to various officers. Meanwhile, I was terrified. I could hardly walk down my street at night without freaking out. Every time somebody knocked on my door while I was home alone, I would drop whatever I was doing and hide under the kitchen counters. I had not moved since I was a child, so it was very possible they remembered where I lived. The packages kept coming. I received more weed, several different forms, including cookies, what appeared to be along with cocaine, and a key to his apartment, along with miscellaneous items. I opened up all the packages at the police station. One of the packages included a USB stick with a bunch of audio recordings on them, but I decided it was better for me not to listen to them. The return address on the packages was to some random P.O. box in another city that did not belong to Richard, and no fingerprints were ever found on the packages. During this, the Facebook messages remained constant. Luckily, in one of the messages, he informed me that he sent me drugs and the key along with his home address. This confirmed that the packages were from him. He was charged again, and I received a subpoena in the mail to appear as a witness in court. However, he once again pled guilty and I never got to go to court. I was actually a bit disappointed. I thought seeing him in person would provide me with some sort of closure. He is still locked up somewhere as I'm writing this, but I still get scared walking at night or when somebody knocks on the door. The police provided me no information on where he was being held, when he would be released. I feel like I'm just waiting for the day he'll contact me again. Seems as if every time I think it's over, it isn't. If I do hear from him again, I'm sure to post an update. This situation could have been a lot worse. As far as I know, he did not physically follow me around or anything. But I strongly encourage you all to make sure that your Facebook privacy settings are as private as possible. This concludes my video. The Wall Street Journal YouTube thing has affected my channel in a severely adverse way. If you guys wouldn't mind supporting the channel by either clicking the subscribe button, the notification ding button next to the subscribe button, or simply directly donating to my Patreon, you'll help me out a lot. I'm probably going to have to pull a second job to afford rent because of this. In the meantime, enjoy. My Brother Needs New Friends by Silver State R. My oldest brother has a drug addiction and has led to more than a few times of meeting people I'd rather not ever know. Some of them are pretty harmless but weird. Some of them are nice one day and not the next. Some of them are playing balls to the wall certifiable. Just some background. I'm the eldest. My brother Age is the second eldest, but the eldest brother, and Nat is the third eldest. There are 4 brothers and another sister, but only Age and Nat and I were the ones involved at this time. At the time of this incident occurred, we were living in a house on a highway of a town that I was born in. I was about 30, living with my mother, her boyfriend, and Nat. I was medically unable to work at the time, and Nat has a medical disability that makes it impossible for him to work in the first place. So he and I were in charge of the house. Esther had just passed, and Age rang up, begging to be allowed to come home for a while since he had just broken up with his newest ex. Mum, being a soft-touch type, especially when it comes to kids, was all for letting him crash and lounge, but only with the promise that there'd be no drugs or alcohol in the house. He gave his word. Nat and I both facepalmed. Age has done this a few times, in fact. and Age set up a house lounge or whatever you want to call it for the next week. Or so it's supposed to be. A month later, and several drug addicts becoming regulars at our door, and Mom finally gets annoyed enough to tell Age to look for a flat, caravan, or really anything. He wasn't allowed to stay any longer. Nat and I, who had been dealing with the knocks on the door every day, and a police raids of all things, sighed in relief. Age eventually found a nice flat in the next town over. We resumed our happy, quiet, knock-free lives, and it was all well for a week. Then the phone calls started. They begun as a quick succession of calls around dinner time, 2 or 3 at a time, with an immediate hang-up as soon as we asked who was there. Nothing too troublesome, if not annoying. Of course, then it escalated. They begun happening at 11 p.m., which quickly got on Mom's goat. She has no times for annoyances past 10 p.m., and even the family knows not to call the house phone that late or suffer her wrath. So it was no surprise when, after about the 5th night of phone calls, we heard Mom shouting over the phone to the person that was on the line that if she called again, or they called again, she'd call the cops. The phone call stopped and we shrugged it off as someone being stupid. A few days later, I was the only one at home when I heard a car revving nearby. Now, the house we lived in had no fence around the front yard, just a concrete setting where a hedge would have been planted at some point. Mom had picked up cactuses here and there, flickering a path that led into the front yard proper. To the side of the house was a nature strip where Mom sometimes parked her car, her pride and joy, Betsy. A car. HSV something or rather. She'd be horrified to know I don't know the specs since it's been her obsession for years now. Sports kit, limited edition apparently, I don't really know. Across the road in that direction was a car dealership who had a bunch of show cars. To the right of us was a house that was locked up and currently had no one living in it. In the front of the house is a highway, and our backyard contains what would also be the back of the house of the block. It's a big yard, so you can imagine. So the only place for a car to park and rev would be the dealership, or where my mother's car parks. Glancing out the window, I noticed a strange car pulled up on the side of our house, almost touching the cactuses that were facing our lawn, as though it were about to go driving on it. At least, if a tree hadn't been in the way. Thinking it was a friend of my mom's boyfriend, I shrugged it off and waited for them to get out of the car and come at their front door. About 10 to 15 minutes of revving passes by, and I'm wondering what the hell is going on. I can't see the driver since the tree branches were low-hanging and were in the way, but I'm not one particularly perturbed about it at first. We had a few people pull up on a nature strip in order to turn around, and initially I thought this might be what was going on, but after no one got out or turned, I started to get a bit antsy. And I started to consider getting the phone and making a call to the cops when a Land Rover pulls up into the dealership just across the road from the car. Perhaps I spooked him or whatever, because whatever was in the car reversed off and left. I then shrugged it off. I mentioned it when Mom got home. She told me to call her or my aunt if it happens again, and it was forgotten for about a few days. It was about 10 p.m. I'd been reading some manga, I'm a nerd, sue me, when I hear a car pull up on the outside. It didn't really register, just something on my mind, and I was like, oh, car, Mom must be home. I shrugged it off. Less than 5 minutes later, I hear the pounding on my window, and then the cracking sound that the glass makes. It was very distinct. Of course, this startles the hell out of me, and I drop the book and go wide-eyed, looking out the window where the pounding comes from. I start wondering if I'm imagining it. That's when I hear a woman start to scream, calling me a whore and a bitch, demanding to see Age and how he's fucked with the wrong woman, how she's going to kill him and me, and all kinds of other craziness. I'm like, what the actual fuck, trying to process what the hell is going on. Who is this crazy woman? What I've done to offend her, and how she knows Age. I'm a bit shell-shocked at this moment, and Nat comes in, bursting into my room looking a bit rattled, while I hear Mom's voice yelling about getting the cops if this woman doesn't clear out. The woman kept screaming and yelling and beating on the house, so the cops were called, and she was warned not to come near the property again, and we figured it was over. Mom rang Age, who told us that it was her, or it was one of his exes, or an ex of his friends. Age convinced his friend to dump her since she was an abusive woman who beat him up on a regular and stole his money. And drugs, of course. So apparently she tracked Age and started to do a weird campaign of ineffectual terror before things came to a head. Alright, all done. Lady's given the warning to piss off and not to bother us again. Age's friend takes her back after another sob story. Age then goes to another different town and starts dealing drugs there. Fine. Except no, not fine, because 2 weeks later, crazy woman has been broken up with again. We're outside since it's been a warm day, having a small bonfire around 9 p.m. It's just past dusk, getting darker, and Nat's mom, boyfriend Stu, and I were hanging out and joking around, considering we should get some marshmallows and sausages on the bonfire. We hear a car pull up to the fence next to the doorway. It's the same car I saw last time, and 3 men climb out and come over to the fence. These guys are pretty bulky guys, all taller than me, and I'm about, well, let's just say I'm a decent-sized guy. Nat is solidly built, but not much taller than I am, and Stu was at the time recovering from a motorbike accident that nearly saw him killed. So we're watching these guys come up with trepidation. Mom, unbeknownst to us at the time, was watching from the window inside and had all but gotten the phone and started calling the cops just in case. I had been about to go back inside to get the marshmallows, so I was near the back steps and close to the back door, torn between watching them to make sure that Stu and Nat didn't get all macho and looking for a weapon of some kind, and, well, tearing inside to go in and call the cops. Meanwhile, the bitch comes out of the car, happy as a lark, and starts mouthing off about how Age is gonna get his for stealing his man, or some shit like that. Our friends are gonna beat everyone here up. The men start making threatening noises and demanding that Age and the woman's boyfriend to come out here, or else there'd be some dead bodies laying around. For some reason, they thought Age and the guy were here, even though Age was in a whole nother part of the country, and apparently so was this guy. I was panicking the hell to bits and ducked inside and grabbed the phone, but Mom just shushed me, and seeing she had it, kept the back door open to watch. Stu and Nat kept telling them that Age and the guy was not here, that they are free to go check if they want to, if they came back during the day. That kind of thing. At one point, Stu grabs the hammer, and of course that makes the other guy more aggressive, demanding what he thinks he's going to do with it. One of them tries to open the gate, which is when our dog, a bull mastiff cross pit bull, starts barking like crazy, and the guy backs off a bit. Of course, that's about the time the cops showed up. That's when things cool down, but we watch in bewilderment as the guys greet the cops all friendly like and start chatting with them like they're old buds. They leave, the cops take a few notes and head off, and we hear nothing more about the incident. Thankfully, the woman who incited this whole incident left town not too long after, then ended up in jail after trying to rob a jewelry store with a plastic gun. Age still has questionable taste in friends, but doesn't bring them around the house when he visits, thankfully. And cops, well, some of them are okay, just not the ones that came around that night. Still, be careful of who your friends are and who you get involved with, because it can cause trouble for you and your family. Incident that scared the hell out of me as a kid by GDNS 7. When I was about 7 years old, my father bought a few hundred acres in southern Mississippi, about 1.5 hours west of Mobile. He built a small cabin on the top of a hill that was in the middle of a large field surrounded by woods. This house was about 5 miles from a paved road. To get to our land, it took nearly 10 minutes of driving down dirt roads from the main highway, which was about south of the house. About a quarter mile north from the house, he built a small lake, more like a kind of pond thing. It was about as long as a football field, but wider. To get to the lake from the house, you would take a route which was made of hard-packed dirt, which lined the dogwood trees. It was a beautiful day in spring. Route B was about 100 yards east of Dogwood Lane, and we named it Vampire Trail because it always looked so gloomy. The trees blocked out the sun even on the brightest days, and it had a slight decline as you walked towards the lake. I say walked because this trail was not for vehicles. Thick woods filled the area outside between both trails. One morning in the fall, my parents and my little sister had gone to get ice cream and do some shopping. This trip would take them at least an hour or two. I was 10 years old, so I decided to go fishing while listening to Bama play Ole Miss. The game was the usual Bama win, so I thought I could ease the boredom of blowout by fishing in the well-stocked lake. So I carried my pole, small radio, and my small ice chest. I had an Airedale Terrier named Bully that never left my side, and it was on this day I realized how awesome he really was. On to the lake we went. Picture a large overall, roughly the size of a football field, but larger with an L-shaped pier in the southwest corner. Vampire Lane opened up to several more severe declines to the shore, and then to the small pier. Across the lake on the west side, there was a narrow tree line that separated the shore from Dogwood Lane. The north side of the lake was the dam, and the south ended in thick, swampy wood. Fortunately for me, I realized this later. About 5 minutes later, I threw out my line, and 2 Bama touch doors later, I got that feeling. It's a feeling I have to come to recognize well, and it may have saved my life this day. The feeling of being watched by someone dangerous, or something dangerous. Bully must have felt it too, because a few seconds later, I could hear him growling and starting across the lake to the west, to the tree line that separated Dogwood Lane from the lake. I turned my head in that direction, and almost immediately my eyes lit on what I thought to be half of a silhouette of another man behind a tree. It was too far to make out the details, but close enough to be sure of what I was looking at. Almost 5 minutes went by, and right before I scolded myself for an overactive imagination, the half silhouette moved behind a tree slowly. Bully stood and growled louder, and I told him quietly to stop. I turned my head north, towards the dam, while keeping my eyes and attention to the tree. Over the next 10 minutes, which felt like hours, I watched while this figure moved slowly from tree to tree, always north, always facing me. The saying, "scared stiff," was something I found to be true. For some reason, I thought it'd be important that whoever or whatever it was did not know I was aware. I finally realized that the figure's path was bringing it closer to the dam, which would make its path to me shorter and easier. My paralysis broke shortly, and I casually put down the fishing pole and started walking towards Vampire Lane. I was in the army for 11 years as a MP, but not turning to look over my shoulder during the walk was the hardest thing I had ever done. In my mind's eye, whatever it was screaming across the dam towards me. When I hit the tree line, I broke into a run. As I was running, Bully dashed ahead of me, and my anger turned into admiration as he stopped 20 yards ahead and faced north until I passed him. He continued this action the entire run home. My dog was watching my back. Just epic. Although I can grasp the awesomeness of this now, at the time, I was so scared that I literally could be sick. Even at such a young age, I knew that a large man watching and trying to creep up on a 10-year-old was up to no good. When I reached the cabin, I immediately locked the door and got one of my dad's shotguns as well as his .38 revolver. I sat at the front of the window, my eyes glued to both the trail openings and the woods between them. My family returned shortly after, and for some reason, I did not mention what happened. I never felt safe there again. When me and my friends or my little sister wanted to go anywhere other than the area around the cabin, I made sure that my parents were with us. What scares me the most is the fact that our closest neighbors were about 3 to 4 miles northwest of us, with thick woods between us. Who or what the hell was watching me from the woods that day? Guess I may never know. Sometimes I wish I could go back then as a grown man with military training as I do now. Bully lived a full life and was put to sleep peacefully as a very old but great dog. The best dog that I'd ever known.